Hello guys, I'm Wang
I'm Joel.
I'm Winkang.
I'm Jason.
I'm Yawen.
and we are Group IMAKI from Scientific Inquiry Class. And this video is about flood.
Flood is a natural incident in which a dry area or a dry piece of land suddenly gets submerged underwater. In other words, a flood is an overflow of waters that submerge the land that is usually dry. Flooding is very dangerous. The overflowing waters carries along objects like houses, bridges, trees, farms, animals and even people. Sometimes it carries away a whole city. The natural behavior of water is that it moves from higher ground level to lower ground level. This means that the lower ground is a lot more likely to experience flooding. Area flood is a gradual flooding resulting from prolonged and persistent moderate to heavy rainfall. It is usually a ponding or build-up of water in low-lying areas, flood-prone areas, as well as small creeks and streams. The flooding normally occurs more than 6 hours after the rainfall begins and may cover up a large area. River flood occurs when a specific point along a river or creek surpasses its flood stage, where water overspilled over the riverbanks and when it flows can no longer be contained within its channels. This can be due to the persistent rainfall, snow melt, and ice stream or combinations of all three. Flash flood occurs very fast or in a flash, usually within 6 hours and often within 3 hours of the heavy rainfall. Flash flooding is possible everywhere. Streams and creeks in your neighborhood can become the raging torrents if heavy rains fall overhead. The water from flash floods can reach a height of 20 feet, which can severely damage anything in its path. Coastal flood occurs when normally dry and low-lying lands is flooded by seawater. It is usually caused by the higher tides and waves and made worse by heavy rains and onshore winds. These are the most common floods during tropical storm seasons. Flood is the most devastating natural disaster experienced in Malaysia. Throughout Malaysia, there is a total of 189 river basins, with the main channels flowing directly to the South China Seas, and 85 of them are prone to become recurring flooding. The estimated area vulnerable to flood disaster is approximately 29,800 km², or 9% of the total Malaysia area, and is affecting almost 4.82 million people, which is around 22% of the total populations of the country. Flood is also the most frequent natural disaster experienced in Malaysia, accounting for approximately 63% of all disasters and bringing the highest damage annually. It is the main cause of damages to coastal regions, especially in low-lying areas. According to Ministry of Water, Lands and Natural Resources, by year 2012, the annual average damage of flood is 1.15 million ringgit. According to the United Nations report, the number of floods per year is increasing, with the death toll also rising in many parts of the world. For example, in South America, 560,000 people were affected by flood on average each year from 1995 to 2004. But the following decades, that number had risen to 2.2 million people. Flooding has accounted for nearly half of all weather-related disasters worldwide since 1995 and has killed an estimated 157,000 people and affected 2.3 million others. In terms of financial impact, the American continent sees the biggest losses.
We're asking the respondents
others' opinion on whether the government is fulfilling their roles on taking initiative to reduce flood in housing areas, a majority of people at 23 out of 53 are neutral about the statement. 20 people agree that the government is doing their job, and among them, 13 of them strongly agree with it. However, there are 10 people disagree about the statement, and 4 of them strongly disagree with it. Inquiring about the public's opinion on building flood warning system, protecting wetlands and planting more trees, as well as volunteering to help flood victims. The trend is very similar. More than half the respondents agree with the three mentioned statements at 45, 46, and 48 respectively. Only around 4 to 6 people are neutral about the statement, and only 1 to 2 are disagree with the statement. However, none of them are strongly disagree.
For the last questions, which is the most important questions, we asked whether the respondents have ever done anything in helping floods. So based on the responses, we can see that there's more than half of them, which is 64% of them, never done anything in helping floods, and 20% of them not sure about this. However, there's 15% of them have ever contributed in helping floods. When we ask how they contributed, the answers can be categorized into two, which is prevention of floods and assistance during the floods. For prevention of floods, what they do is they are not throwing rubbish into drains or rivers, they participate in river cleaning campaigns, and they help in reducing the waste at home. Regarding the contribution during the floods, they help in evacuate the victims, and they become the volunteers in the evacuation centers. Besides, they also help in initiate a donation drives and helps the victims to clean the aftermath of the floods.
The simplest explanation for flooding is heavy rains. No matter where you live, you are surrounded by infrastructure and the system designed to move rainwater into appropriate basins and reservoirs. In most cases, the infrastructure does its job, and you never have to think about where the rain goes. However, when it rains heavily, those systems are overwhelmed, and their water doesn't drain nearly as quickly as it needs to. In short, the drainage system backs up and the water rises sometimes into homes. Most larger rivers include a series of dams to help manage large amounts of rainfall. And most river systems are managed by government authorities. Sometimes, those authorities have to make tough decisions about how to operate dams. They often can manage the water and prevent flooding altogether, but not always. Many of our cities are made of mostly concrete and other impermeable material. When you have an urban drainage basin that is made of concrete, there's no ground for water to sink into. So, when those drainage basins fill up, it's going to mean flooding for low-lying areas. This is mostly the case in large urban areas. When heavy rain strikes, the basins used to drain them cannot always handle the load.
When flood is expected to occur, the warnings are usually broadcasted through medias, radios, or even loudspeakers. When you hear these warnings, always prepare yourself and your family for evacuation. You can prepare for clothes or even food supplies for this kind of emergency. Shift all your important documents such as personal ID or medical cards in ready-to-reach area. Also, put all your valuable belongings at a safe place such as higher grounds to prevent damage from the floodwaters.
During evacuation, you might need to be away from your home for some time. That's why you need to always remember a few tips. Firstly, remember to switch off the electricity. Flood actually causes short circuit to your electrical appliances, so you might not want to lose a few expensive electrical appliances in your home. Secondly, remember to lock your house. You might not know there are always thieves or burglars who might take advantage to your house. And last but not least, never enter the floodwaters, because you don't expect the floodwaters to be shallow or even the current to be slow during flood.
Below are 4 rules as you must abide to during a flood situation. 1. Keep yourself at high ground at all times. 2. Be alert of reptiles such as snakes and crocodiles that may occur in the water. 3. Make sure your water source and food source are clean and unsoiled by flood water. 4. Make sure yourself are hygienic, as epidemics are very likely to occur in a relief camp. Keep yourself safe.